Financial wellness. Reach out to them for advice at 855-DON-GINO. And now back to your hosts, Don Getling and Gino Franti.
Well, to use a sports fan analogy, because we have sports fans here on the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show, I hope you liked your halftime, because now the second half of the show is where the real fun begins, because NEAL WEICHEL is going to share some great information about how he's helping more sellers be successful in this real estate market than anyone else in all Santa Clarita, pretty much all in California, but definitely out here. And he's going to share some pearls of wisdom of how he is doing that through communication, I'm going to say, and differentiation, because there's so much information that you all see, including from us, Don and Gino, every Saturday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. We share with you what's going on, and you hear a lot about the tight inventory and where interest rates are going and the new, we have a new president, how that's all affecting us. But NEAL is helping more of you out there sell your home for top dollar than anyone else. So, NEAL, I'd love for you to share. What's nice is there's no tricks to it. This is just hard work and communication is what I sense from it.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's very. We were talking a little bit off the air about how so many of us in the real estate profession share the same information, right? Yes, it's a tight inventory, and yes, interest rates went up a little and then they went down, and yes, Trump is unraveling CPFD or whatever, right? Well, everybody knows that, but what does that mean? And what does it mean to the guy who lives on Lemon Street, right, or Granite Ridge, or over on Atwood? I mean, what does it mean to somebody on their street if they're thinking about selling a home? And the answer is the best way to help sellers in today's market is to make sure that they understand where they can and can't push price. As you know, the number one reason any home sells is because of price. If a home is overpriced, and you know this, you see it every day, it will not sell. Now, why is that? Well, we're going to talk in a minute about how the internet has changed real estate. And the way the buyers have taken control of the process. And they have. They're more educated than ever. If something is overpriced, they know it. And they know it because they go out and comparison shop all day, both in person and online. With the amount of information that's available online, the amount of photos that are available online, the amount of information they can get, they know when a home is overpriced. So as a seller, okay, your listing agent, let's say it's myself, needs to be 100% honest with you about what is possible and what isn't. And it's determined by the competing homes that are in the marketplace. If the agent hasn't seen those competing homes, or maybe there's some new construction that's siphoning off some of the buyers in that area, right? If the agent doesn't know that and really get what the seller's competition is, that's mistake number one. Okay, to use your sports analogy, that's strike one. Now, let's make sure the seller, before you even shows up, knows that by emailing them, these are the specific homes, Mr. Seller, that I'm going to talk to you about. Okay, these are the homes that your buyer is comparing you to. If they get it, then they're going to be realistic about price because you've educated them before you even show up. And then you go out there. Let's say the home is a little worse than you thought it might be. We have to talk about staging it. We have to talk about preparing it. We have to talk about bringing in the necessary vendors to make sure it shows its best. Let's say it's a little better than you thought it would be. Terrific, Mr. Seller. We're really going to be able, I think, to even push the price a little more because the buying public is going to understand what you have over the home around the corner and the one down the street and the one that sold 2 months ago. And the seller, once they know that you know what you're doing and what you're talking about, is going to go along with your game plan because they know that it's the right game plan. Now, if you walk in and you're unprepared, you don't know the competition, you don't know what's happening, how can you possibly educate a seller? They probably know more than you do. Okay.
Well, but we can go back to that sports analogy. If you don't have a game plan, you're done.
Yeah, for sure. So what's changed over the last few years? I think what's changed the most is the fact that photography, and this is one part of how the internet has changed business, photography is more important than ever. I am amazed that I will still look at a brand new, because every morning, 4:30, okay, fair enough, I'm looking at my hot sheet, and I'll see, here's a new listing that competes against my listing over here in Saugus, right? What did they shoot it with? I mean, an old digital camera or something, or an iPhone 2? I mean, it's terrible.
Or a picture of a door.
Or even worse, no photos available. Brand new listing, no photos available. Yep. You want to absolutely kill the most important marketing time you have, which is the first week on the market. Go ahead and come on the market without photos. We will never put a property on the market without photos.
Here's another common mistake I see all the time, Neil, is, and I hear agents talk about this, and it makes me cringe. They're like, well, I just took some quick photos, and then I'm going to get my professional photos later. I'm like, you just wasted all the best potential marketing time you have.
Nope. Don't do it.
Yeah, and I
Just
see it all
wait
the time.
and educate your seller as to what you're doing. The single most important question I ask before I sign a listing agreement with somebody is, can we do photography tomorrow, or would Friday be better? And then, you know what I'm saying? In other words, that's it. That
have
is
an
the
option, right?
final question.
Right.
Yeah, when will you be ready for us? I've already walked through the home with you. I've already told you exactly what we need to do in every room. I've already said if we need to bring in, AQMS to go store some stuff. I've already talked about if we got to bring the painter or the carpet cleaner in. I mean, I stage every home. Every home. It's funny, people sometimes will call me and say, hey, I know you're busy. Will I actually be meeting you? Are you kidding? Whether you like it or not, you're getting me, and we're going to go through the home. We're going to take as much time as it takes to prepare that home and make sure it's ready, and then we're going to talk about photography. If you've got a super property, are we going to do aerial photography? I mean, aerial photography is terrific.
Yeah, it is.
Why wouldn't you use aerial photography? The buyers want to see aerial photography.
Nothing
Spend
like
some
it,
money
yeah.
and do it. Okay, so we can go on and on about that, but when you say what do you do to make sure your listings sell? A, you price them properly. Okay, many times I'll put a price high and people will go, how in the world did you get that price? Well, because I knew that we could get it. Okay,
Right.
by doing my homework and knowing what the competition was doing and what the seller's motivations were and all. Okay, number one, price. Number two, now we've got to make sure that it's properly marketed. What does that mean? It means when it goes on the internet, make sure it shows in its very best light. Make sure that you're doing a terrific description. Make sure you understand what the upgrades were. Make sure you know the difference between GE Profile and Bosch or Miele or whoever if you're talking about appliances. If you don't know that, you're not in the real estate business. Grow up, do your job.
I wish Neil had some passion about what he does and everything. But I love this is what we were hoping to get out of you, Neil, because I love it is your passion and your desire to really educate and inform your sellers and your buyers, but you inform them and you have the passion to do that. And a lot of our industry is afraid to tell somebody what they don't want to hear.
It's difficult to tell a seller that you can't smoke in your house. It's difficult to tell a seller that the cat box stinks. It's difficult to tell a seller that we have to replace the light bulbs, that we cannot have rooms where the light bulbs don't work. It's difficult to tell a seller you have too much stuff in this room. I get it. But if the seller has said to you, honestly, Neil, I really have to move to San Diego. I need to get there in 60 days. Would you just tell me what I need to do to get the price that you think I can get for this home because I need every dollar out to buy my next home? Then I'm going to tell you.
All right. If you just tuned in, you're tuned into the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show. Don Gatling, Gino Fronti here with Neil Weichel, #1 real estate agent in Santa Cruz since 1994. Passionately sharing with you what you really need to know about being successful in the real estate market, and that's called education. You need an agent that will educate, inform, and not afraid to. And we love that you always have an opinion. You give us, what truly makes you so successful. You're not afraid to share it. I know when we do loans, we got to sometimes tell somebody, no, you do not qualify for it. Well, Joe Schmo Mortgage down the street told you you're not going to be successful and you're going to have a horrible experience because you're going to try to get into escrow on that home and now you're going to fall in love with that home and now you can't get that home. There's nothing worse than that. Let us properly prepare you to have a successful transaction. Maybe your next home the next home Neil finds you as your dream home, but right now let's get you into a home.
Yeah, and sometimes it is hard to tell people they need to wait.
Yeah.
In our industry, I feel like that's where loan officers are not strong enough, is they can't tell buyers and agents you need to wait. You are not ready. You're not ready to take action. You're going to get into escrow and you're going to have a problem because your other lender didn't do X, Y, Z, and they didn't do their homework. So we run into that all the time.
Yeah, I've been in real estate coaching for 25 years. 25 years, every week I have a call where I go through, what I'm doing. And the number one thing that this coaching company tells you is you must tell the client the truth. Okay? Tell them the truth because guess what? They know the difference. Okay,
Right.
they know when you're not telling the truth. So why not just tell them the truth? Now, sometimes it's difficult and you have to slow down and be very empathetic and say, I'm really sorry. I know this is more than you wanted to bite off. If we can't do it to get the home ready, maybe there's another way to go. I mean, you have to be sensitive to this.
Right. Sure.
These are very stressful experiences for our clients. Getting a home mortgage is stressful. Selling your home is stressful. Buying a home, very stressful. So as long as we remember that, as long as we put the client first, but at the end of the day, if you can't tell them the truth, then unfortunately it's going to be worse than at the end of the day.
You nailed on the head before we go to break, and we have to go to break soon, but you nailed on the head because this is something that we preach a lot to our entire team is the education part of it. Like you're doing is our goal really is to remove the stress. If you properly prepare them and educate and inform them, it really reduces the stress at times because you're prepared. Now we're not stressed out about whether they qualify, whether their verification of employment is going to come back wrong, something on their tax return showing up wrong. Or same thing when you're talking about what's important to the house, selling or not selling and properly pricing it, that education really takes away a lot of the stress.
The stress goes away, Don, because the client knows that you know what you're doing. It's very evident. It's very clear. Look, just listen to what Gino says, and everything will go smoothly. And you've done this long enough that they know. It's not like you're new to the business. It's not like I'm new to the business. I don't have anybody's motivation at heart other than to make sure I help them get what they want in the time they want. That's my only motivation. Okay?
Yep.
Because a happy client at the end is going to lead to more happy clients. And you and I both know that because that's the way all business works, and certainly real estate.
And that's how you survive in real estate.
I know
That's for sure.
sometimes it's uncomfortable, like you said, but one of the lines I use all the time is, "You've waited 30 years to buy a home. Give me 2 more weeks."
I think that's a terrific line because it really puts it in perspective.
All right. We'll be back with Neil Weichel with RE/MAX in just a few. We're going to talk about how the internet has really changed the real estate industry, and then Neil's going to give us a little idea of what to expect for 2017, the real estate market. No one know better than Neil Weichel. We'll be right back.